From Apple Valley News Now, First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Josh Colberth.
Welcome back to Good Morning Northwest. It is, of course, a very mild morning out there. Pretty warm for some of us as we're seeing 50s, 60s, and 70s for the Yakima and Kittitas valleys. The same thing for the lower Columbia Basin, and 60s and 70s for the foothills of the Blue Mountains. A little bit later today, it's going to be another hot one, but thankfully we are past the peak of this heat wave as we're just going to be 10 degrees above average as opposed to 20 degrees above average. So we'll still be pretty close to triple digits in the Kittitas and Yakima valleys, right around 100 for the lower Columbia Basin, and then mostly just 90s for the foothills of the Blues. It will be a breezy day today, especially for the Cascades, Kittitas Valley, and Yakima Valley, with winds gusting out of the north and west between 20 to 35 miles per hour. Of course, some of the fastest wind gusts being in the Kittitas Valley, which is very bad news. That's why we're going with the First Alert Extreme Impact Fire Day, not just because of the winds, but also the fire fuel energy is going to be way up there, up into the 99th percentile in terms of historical percentiles, also up into the 99th percentile for the lower Columbia Basin, and essentially up around that value for the Blue Mountains. So what does this mean? It means that fires could start and or spread very rapidly. So please exercise all the fire vigilance. And then for tonight, we'll continue to see winds gusting between 20 to 35 miles per hour, but again, mostly for the Kittitas and Yakima valleys. Overnight lows will be a little bit cooler compared to what we have for this morning, with 50s and 60s for the Kittitas and Yakima valleys, also 60s for the lower Columbia Basin, and 60s for the foothills of the Blue Mountains. We'll continue to keep our temperatures right about where they are over the next 7 days. We'll continue to be about 10 degrees above average for this time of the year. So even though, again, we're past the peak of the heat wave, it's still going to be pretty hot, and it's still going to be prolonged heat, which means that fuels are going to continue to be very dry. So that's why we're going with the First Alert Extreme Impact Fire Day for Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, because again, it's still going to be hot. The fuels will continue to be pretty dry, and we do have some lightning chances in a Monday and Tuesday, especially for the Blue Mountains. But for tomorrow, fire fuel energy, again, back up into the 99th percentile for Kittitas and Yakima counties, into the 97th percentile for the lower Columbia Basin, 99th percentile for the Blue Mountains, and we'll have similar values to that as we start to get into some of those lightning chances for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, especially for the Blue Mountains. Here's a 7-day forecast for the Cascades. We'll have highs in the 70s for the next week. And then for the Kittitas Valley, of course, windy today, winds relaxing a bit after that. Then for the Yakima Valley, highs hovering right around 100 for the next week. And then for the lower Columbia Basin, highs also mostly around 100, although a little bit closer to 105 for the weekend. And then for the foothills of the Blue Mountains, we'll have 90s over the next 7 days. And then for the Blue Mountains proper, we'll again track those lightning chances very closely for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.